Hello, dear listeners. Good evening. I'm your old friend, and tonight I want to share a true story with you. A few days ago, I received a very long submission. She wrote, "Host, I don't know if breaking up back then was a mistake. We clearly still loved each other, but because of the question of 3 years or 1 year, we drifted apart." This story stayed on my mind for a long time. Tonight, let's talk about it together. Se cayed, inventor. And she wasn't joking. When they met, she was at a confusing stage in her life. She wanted to take the civil service examen, the kind of stable and respectable government job, and he was already a man established in his career. Logical, clear-headed, and good at planning. He offered to tutor her. And so, within the romantic relationship, another dynamic quietly grew. Teacher and student, she said. I willingly placed myself in a lower position. I balanced my inner insecurity that he is so much stronger than me by giving him emotional support, obedience, and care. She studied full-time for 1.5 years. During that time, he taught her how to analyze questions and organize knowledge. When she broke down, he would also put aside his rationality and give her hugs and encouragement. She was grateful to him, deeply grateful. But gratitude in a relationship can sometimes become a sweet kind of debt. They didn't break up because they stopped loving each other, but because of a timeline. She asked him, "Can we get married within 1 year?" He thought for a long time and gave 3 reasons for saying no. First, he felt she was not yet independent enough, mentally or financially. With a monthly salary of $3,000 and still living with her parents, her ability to handle risks was low. Second, his own financial situation didn't allow it. He had more than $60,000 in savings, all invested with decent annual returns. He wanted to let compound interest grow for a few more years, until it could cover the costs of a wedding and marriage, instead of withdrawing it now. Third, influenced by his parents' marriage, he didn't have high expectations for marriage itself. He needed time to adjust his mindset. He said, "Let's wait 3 more years." She was heartbroken, but still tried to compromise. "I can accept renting a place and getting married first." He took a step back as well and said, "Then 2 years. 2 years." When she heard those words, a voice inside her said, "No." It wasn't that 2 years was too long. It was that she suddenly realized that in his life calculations, her sense of security, her fear that newness fades, her anxiety about uncertainty, none of these seemed to be included in the equation. She suggested breaking up. 3 months after the breakup, they met once to return belongings. That night, they talked for a long time. She had always thought that what he loved was a version of her who is independent, strong, and has passed the civil service exam. So, she studied desperately, trying to prove that she was worthy. But he said, "I chose you primarily because of compatibility. Mental and financial independence are expectations, not requirements." When you refused to accept the 3-year plan and chose to break up, I felt you didn't firmly choose me. She was stunned. She also spoke honestly. "I thought we were unequal in value. You helped me so much, how could I repay you?" The only explanation I could come up with was that you were waiting for me to pass the civil service exam, to use that result as a return to you. That gave me a lot of pressure. He shook his head. "I just wanted to help you achieve your wish. Whether you pass or not, isn't that important to me." After the meeting, he sent her a message. "You are good, and you are worthy. Move forward, and maybe we will meet again somewhere in the distance." She looked at that sentence, and tears fell. Then she wrote me this letter and asked me 3 questions. He said compatibility matters most, but in my eyes, besides emotional value and sexual value, what else can I offer? Am I underestimating myself? He said, "Meet again in the distance. Do we still have a chance?" I am now willing to accept getting married 2 years later. Was the breakup my impatience? Or was he too rational and selfish? Did I miss out on a good man? My dear, tonight I don't want to simply tell you get back together or don't get back together. I want to sit with you and break this apart. You said you could only offer emotional value and sexual value. It sounds like those 2 things are cheap. I want to ask you to pause and redefine value. In the United States, there's a very famous marriage psychologist named John Gottman. After decades of research, he found that the most important predictor of whether a relationship lasts is not income, not education, not appearance, but the quality of emotional connection. That is when I am in front of you. Can I feel safe? When I am vulnerable, will you hold me? What did you give him? You gave him a year of companionship, obedience, and care. Even in a lower position, you still tried hard to balance the relationship. This is not weakness. This is a very powerful form of emotional labor. You thought you were taking, but in fact, you were always giving. And what he called compatibility. I guess it doesn't mean how outstanding you are, but that when you were together, he felt comfortable, relaxed, and understood. That feeling is far more valuable than a civil service acceptance letter. So you did not underestimate yourself. You just used his ruler to measure yourself. And the ruler he used was not that one at all. He said 3 years, because compound interests had not grown enough. You said 1 year, because you were afraid that feelings would fade. They sound very different, right? But psychologically, they come from the same root. Fear of losing control. He fears a lack of material security. His parents' failed marriage taught him that without money, there is no security. So he tries to build a fortress with compound interest. You fear a lack of emotional security. Your past experiences taught you that the longer time passes, the more passion fades, and the less likely a man is to marry. So you try to lock the future with a deadline. Neither of you is wrong. You were just pushed in opposite directions by your own fears. And that last thing he said, you didn't firmly choose me. I want to say, my dear, that is not your fault. Firm choice requires the other person to also give you a timeline you can stand on. When someone asks you to wait 3 years, but your heart only has the capacity for 1, it's not that you are not firm, it's that your instincts are telling you, this risk is too much for you to bear. At the end, he said, move forward, and maybe we will meet again somewhere in the distance. This sentence reminds me of an old song called The Other Side. It roughly means, we each go our own way first, and if one day we meet again at some turning point, we will talk then. It is a gentle farewell, but it is not. I will wait for you. What he means is, I don't hate you, and I don't regret loving you, but right now, we are not in the same rhythm. You go become who you want to be, and I will complete what I need to do. If we can still resonate in the future, then we'll see. So, should you wait for him? My suggestion is, don't stay in place and wait. Not because he isn't worth it, but because the act of waiting itself will pull you back into that lower position. You just walked out of it. Don't put yourself back again. If you are willing to accept getting married 2 years later, 10/8 so will be 2 years later. We each grow and then sit down and talk again. Not I stand still and wait for you for 2 years. My dear, you asked me whether breaking up back then was short. I want to tell you, if a relationship makes you feel like I must become better first to deserve you, then no matter how excellent he is, it will only make you smaller and smaller. True love should be, even if you are earning $3,000 a month, living with your parents, and haven't passed your exam yet. In his eyes, you are already whole. You didn't miss out on a good man that at that moment, you made a decision to protect your inner order. That was not short-sighted, that was self. As for whether you will meet again in the future, no one knows. But if that day really comes, I hope that when you stand in front of him, you won't think, I finally passed the civil service exam. Now I'm worthy of you, but instead I am good, and you are good too. Maybe we can get to know each other again. Alright, that's all for tonight's story. If you have ever faced a conflict of timelines in a relationship, feel free to share in the comments. How long would you be willing to wait for someone, and why? Good night. May you be loved, and may you also dare to let go.